Dear colleagues, dear friends, good day all, and thank you, Robert, for your invitation. It's always a pleasure to be here and to see you in person. I will start by saying that in the area of money laundering and terrorism financing cases, financial intelligence units, FIUs, they do three things, basically. They receive information from reporting entities, such as banks. They analyze, enrich information, and then they disseminate that information mainly to law enforcement agencies, but to other agencies as well. And you have to see that in the anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing chain, that starts with reporting entities, goes through financial intelligence units, and then goes to prosecutions bodies. FIUs are uniquely positioned to add value to the work of law enforcement agencies, and in some cases for counterterrorism financing to security agencies. I want to say that FIUs also help at the strategic level. They help policymakers, when you draft AML-CFT legislation in order to fill any gaps, and there are always gaps. The Egmont Group is the only global organization that gathers 166 financial intelligence units, like FinCEN in the US, FinTrack in Canada, TACFIN in France, and many others. And Egmont does basically three things. The first one is it provides an IT security, a secure IT platform to exchange information, real cases, on a daily basis. This is the Egmont Secure Web. The Egmont Group also provides capacity building through the Egmont Center for FIU's Excellence and Leadership, the acronym of ECOFEL. And since its establishment in 2018, this program, very successful, supported over 190 jurisdictions by providing innovative technical assistance, and developed the very first and unique e-learning platform for financial intelligence units, FIUs, and with more than 5,000 registered users and 16 e-learning courses already developed and available. Well, in addition to this, the Egmont Group shares expertise and releases typology reports, red flag indicators to help financial intelligence units, but not only, also the private sector, to help financial institutions to better monitor and to better report. And in the Egmont Group, there is a working group called the Information Exchange Working Group that is basically focusing on this operational work. And I must say that over the last 5 years, this working group delivered more than 30 important reports. And those reports, this includes, for example, some joint work with the FATF, Financial Action Task Force, and Egmont worked with FATF on a joint Egmont-FATF report on trade-based money laundering, which is a very cheap, easy, safe way to launder money. But also on some other joint work with FATF, such as digital transformation of AML-CFT. There are other numerous bulletins on money laundering on various aspects, like the public bulletin on money laundering of serious tax crime, child sexual abuse and exploitation, and FIU's capabilities in the fight against the financing of terrorism. Also, there is an interesting joint work between Egmont and the World Customs Organization, which ended up with the release of the Customs FIU Cooperation Handbook. And we have many others, like an e-catalog on regulated virtual assets providers, and so on. Some of them, like the report on the cross-border money laundering schemes known as laundromats, you might have heard about that, but also on the role of FIUs in asset recovery, and FIU fintech cooperation and associated cybercrime typologies, and the important role, the critical work and role of FIUs in the fight against the money laundering of corruption proceeds. A report that notably demonstrated FIU's critical role in preventing and combating the transfer of crime proceeds in line with the Merida Convention Article 58 that encourages all state parties to establish a strong FIU. And I will come to what does that mean, what does that entail. I would like to highlight another mechanism, an Egmont mechanism called the diagonal cooperation, and we are getting into the weeds here, so that you know, you parliamentarians, that your law enforcement agencies can reach out to your local or domestic financial intelligence unit to request information from another financial intelligence unit across the world. And this is pre-judicial proceedings. This is pre-mutual legal assistance process. It helps figure out if in country Y there is information on a suspect, and then it allows a more fine-tuned, more accurate and relevant legal assistance application. It avoids delays. In a nutshell, I would say that competent authorities face many challenges while analyzing and investigating money laundering and terrorism financing cases. However, multilateral information exchange among FIUs, plus the diagonal cooperation I have just talked about, combined with public-private cooperation, law enforcement data, and open source information can be the key to revealing money laundering and terrorism financing networks. What I mean by that is the solution is a combination of tools and processes. In conclusion, a couple of points. The first one is FIUs, financial intelligence units, can play a big role in anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing as long as law enforcement agencies of your countries utilize the information provided by your FIU. That's the condition, of course. The second is information exchange among FIUs is key, effective, and ongoing on a daily basis as we speak. Over the year, 23,000 information requests are sent, received, analyzed among the 166 financial intelligence units of the Egmont Group. And I want to highlight that the financial crime / terror nexus has been identified years ago. And the ambition to fight both money laundering and terrorism financing has clearly been endorsed by jurisdictions worldwide. However, achieving the results of this ambition requires resources. And I would like to share with you some striking figures that struck me when I discovered them. Let's take G20 countries. G20 countries and economies represent 54 trillion USD and 56% of the or 2021 global GDP. This is World Bank data. But G20 FIUs aggregate altogether a little bit more than 3,000, what we call FTE, full-time equivalent. Basically, people who are analyzing information. All G20 FIUs, altogether 3,000 people. This, you have to put this into perspective. 3,000 people, it can be a lot, it can be very little. I'll draw a comparison. 3,000 people working for FIUs, G20 FIUs. This is less than the compliance department of one single global bank. Again, all G20 FIUs put together, they have less staff than the compliance department of one global bank. This, I believe, underlines the critical issue of FIU resources. And as I'm speaking to you, you parliamentarians from so many countries, so many continents, I want to say that you have a key role to play to ensure that FIUs in your jurisdictions, your FIU has the appropriate legal and operational framework and resources, and I will hammer this, resources. It means financial resources, it means technology, and it means human capital to carry out effectively its mission consistent with the international standards. It is your responsibility. Thank you for your attention.